I took the birth control pill for like 15 years when I was young, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. We didn't think anything of it. We didn't know any better. I mean, that's just what they told you to do.
Remember how nice it used to be in my 20s and 30s, like open a bottle of wine and like have a couple glasses.
It is so much harder on us in our 40s. I know so many women who can't even handle one glass of wine. It's like, why? It's not fair. But focus on getting strong and nourishing your body, because those two things, they're really what are going to serve you long term. And you can look good while you're doing that too. So, am I challenging this muscle? Your last couple reps should feel hard. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be like, oh, I could do this for another 10 reps.
Yeah, when you feel good, that is addictive. Like, you want that in your life.
You don't realize how bad you had it until you start having it really good. And what I want women to understand is that we don't have to work harder. We just have to work smarter.
If you're doing all the right things, eating clean, working out, walking more, and your body still isn't responding the way it used to, this episode is for you. Today's guest is Sara Preston, a fitness and nutrition coach who specializes in helping women over 40 get lean, strong, and healthy without extremes, punishment, or burnout. Sara is menopause certified, evidence-based, and refreshingly honest about what actually changes in midlife and what women are being sold that simply stop working after 40. In this conversation, we're cutting through the noise around fat loss, strength training, fasting, carbs, stress, and hormones, and replacing it with real strategy, not shame. If you've ever felt frustrated, confused, or like your body suddenly changed the rules, you're not imagining it. And you're going to walk away from this episode with clarity, confidence, and tools you can actually use. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Iconic Midlife, Sara. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk today because this is right up my alley, talking about all things, midlife.
Yes. There's so many like twists and turns. There's so many. We were never given a roadmap of what midlife looks like, and so we're just kind of like day by day taking it and trying to figure all of these things out. Do you kind of feel the same?
Yeah. And I think the hard thing is, so when I first got into, coaching women, it wasn't talked about very much. So people didn't even really know what the word perimenopause meant. I would get questions on my Instagram all the time, like, what is perimenopause? So this was, maybe 5 years ago. And now everybody is talking about it. And sometimes I think that's great because we're bringing a lot of awareness. But sometimes it just makes it even more confusing because there's so much noise out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of like ill-informed opinions that are not grounded in evidence or science or, things that really matter. So I feel like having you on will hopefully clear up so much of the noise, because I know for women in midlife, I know I experienced this myself, is, this whole thing that's been happening to me, which is my body is just changing. It's just, you know, 10, 15 years ago, like the things that I was doing to stay healthy and stay lean and just, have my body in a place where I want it to be, those things don't work anymore. So it's kind
Yeah.
of, it's a little scary because it's like, you feel like your body is almost possessed at this point. It's like not your body anymore.
Yeah. Like what is happening? And that's, I talk to, clients or friends or, anybody, and they're just like, it's such a roller coaster because you can feel really great on top of the world one day. And then the next day you wake up and you've got all these different aches and pains, or your hormones feel crazy. And so you never know what to expect, even day to day.
Yes, 100%. But before we get into like all the tips and all the amazing information you have with all of your great health and wellness advice, I want to know what kind of led you into this space. Like, what was the thing where you kind of, felt like, and thank goodness you did because you do have so much great advice, but like, what led you to this place?
Okay, so first I was a fitness, kind of coach. I was just kind of dabbling in it. Always loved health and fitness. I always loved to work out. So I was doing all the things. I was trying all the things out there. It was at the time it was Whole30, keto, Mediterranean diet, like all these different, containers, measuring things out. I was trying all these things and I was working out. I was a coach myself and I still was gaining belly fat. And I was in my early 40s and I thought, I am doing all the things. How is it possible that I can't even keep this weight off? And I had low energy and just, didn't feel like myself. And so then when I kind of came across this plan that I follow, I mean, I had researched so many things. I finally was able to see results. I was finally able to lose the belly fat, and I was like shocked. So that kind of took me down that path of like, okay, we need to do things a little bit differently now if we're going to, no more of this like hit cardio every single day, trying to go low carb, eating as little as possible, fasting all day. Like these things just, they're not made for us as we get into the stage. We're under a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it stress, but there's just a lot of things coming at us at this age between teenagers and aging parents. And a lot of us have jobs and we're kind of at the height of those jobs. Husbands are at the height of those jobs. Like there's a lot expected of us and we can't do the things like you said that we did in our 20s and 30s if we expect to really not just see results, but ultimately feel our best. So when I was able personally to go through that process of not feeling, good, not feeling like myself anymore, and to come out on the other side, that's what kind of led me into this. And then I got some other certifications and really dug deeper. It really piqued my interest into what's going on at this stage, in different ways that I could help women. So I kind of went deeper after that.
And what do you think? Because you bring up a good point, trying all the things that we always have done before. I did Whole30. I did this thing that was called the South Beach diet way back in the day, like all of these things, and I mean, I felt really good after doing in the past when I've done Whole30. I felt really good but I know that like we have changing hormones and there's a bunch of, bodily changes that we're going through right now. So what are some of the things that we used to do, and some of the things that you hope that midlife women will sort of let go of or change, with these new kind of bodies and hormones and all the things that are going on within us?
Yeah. So I think that sometimes we think we have to push harder, right? You got to go to Orange Theory and you've got to burn 800 calories, or I have to eat less. I need to try to eat as little as possible if I want to see results, or I need to be low carb, or I need to really restrict. And I think what we need to think about is how can we nourish ourselves. So think less about how can we punish our body and into seeing results or into, feeling better. Ultimately, that never really makes us feel better. So when I would do Whole30, yeah, it's great. I completely encourage whole foods as much as possible. But I mean, there's a couple reasons why that doesn't work. One of them is that how many times when you do that are you counting down the days till it's over? You can't wait to get to the end of 30 days so that you can go have a treat, or you can go have your alcohol, or you could go have your whatever it is. So it's just not sustainable. And so then we don't stick with it. And we're just on this hamster wheel of restrict, fall off the wagon, restrict, fall off the wagon. Instead, what if we could nourish ourselves with our food, with the workouts that we're doing, with our movement, with our nervous system and our cortisol, regulation, so that we felt good enough that we could stay consistent and really enjoy and love what we're eating and what we're doing for our lifestyle.
I feel like, and that's a good point. I feel like I do all the right things, right? Like I'm lifting heavy weights, I'm walking and getting my steps, I'm trying to eat as clean as possible, but I feel like I still gain weight. So, what is going on metabolically with us? Like, what is actually happening that is making us gain weight, even if you're doing all the right things?
Right. So there's a couple things. I mean, hormones are definitely part of it. As your estrogen declines, you're going to see that you might become more insulin resistant, which means that, your blood sugar is kind of all over the place. You're not able to handle the amount of carbs that you used to handle. It stores into fat instead, which is the weight gain. As estrogen declines, you're also seeing a redistribution of that fat. So you're going to notice a lot more belly fat. Unfortunately, a lot of times we're going to see more visceral fat, which is the fat around your organs, which is that really dangerous fat that can really cause disease down the road. So yes, hormones are a little bit part of it, definitely part of it. However, I also don't want women to think that, okay, well, my hormones are gone, so I'm out of luck and I can't do anything about it, because there's definitely things that we can do. We have to tweak things and do things a little bit differently than we had. So we're also not moving as much. Think about when you had toddlers and younger kids and you never sat down. Now we're at basketball games and we're driving kids in the car, we're sitting at work. Even though we're going out for that walk, we're getting our 10,000 steps. It's just not the same as being kind of moving all day like we used to.
Yeah, movement during the day is really important, right? Whether it's like
Yeah.
after you've eaten something, just taking like a 10-minute walk or even like piddling around the house, right? Just getting up out of the chair, like just kind of moving day to day moving.
Yeah, getting up and moving, and that walk after dinner is really, or after eating, is really important for our blood sugar. The other thing that I talk a lot to women about is this is the stage of life, and I alluded to this earlier. We are less stress resilient as we get into perimenopause. So our hormones are kind of all over the place. We have this stressor of, the roller coaster of estrogen. It's up, it's down. We never know what it's going to be from day to day. Progesterone's kind of exiting the scene. So with low progesterone, you might not be sleeping well. You might be a little more, even if your stressors in your life haven't changed, the way that your body is handling those. So you might have a little cortisol issue going on, nervous system. So many of us at this age have, even though we don't realize it, our nervous system is fried from all of the inputs, the things that I said before with the teenagers and the parents and the jobs and the internet, the social media, the noise, the information. Like there's a lot of overstimulation. So stress and stressors on our body from the hormones, from all these things, can also take a toll too, because then, your cortisol affects your blood sugar, which affects storing fat. It all works together.
You're menopause certified. First of all, what does that mean? And then what do you think is the most misunderstood change that happens to us in perimenopause, in menopause, that really affects our fat loss and the ability to retain muscle?
Okay, yes, muscle, so important. So I have several certifications. So I am an integrative health practitioner, an IHP, which is kind of an overall functional certification through Dr. Cabral. And then through Dr. Stacy Sims, who you may have heard about on, kind of in the menopause space as well.
She's amazing, by the way. She is
Yeah,
amazing.
she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she has a menopause for athletes course. So, that goes deep into all kinds of different things when it comes to menopause and working out and, how hormones affect all of that. And then faster way to fat loss is another certification that I have where I coach women through nutrition and fitness and kind of the lifestyle side of it. So Um, Misunderstood. I just think that there's not a lot of understanding on any of this for women in midlife. Like again, because we hear so many different things, I think women are just so unsure of what way they should be going. And instead, they do nothing a lot of times. It's like, I'm too tired. My hormones are all over the place. I'm too busy. I just can't do it. And what I want women to understand is that we don't have to work harder. We just have to work smarter.
Mm, that's a great point. Yeah, you're right. Smarter, not necessarily harder. And I think
Yeah.
that carries over not only into just like working out, but like in all aspects of our lives. It's like
Yes.
be smarter and more intentional about the things that you're doing. And I'm saying this to myself also. I'm not preaching at all, but I'm saying like I have to remind myself and be like, be more intentional, be smarter. Don't just work harder and, do that kind of old way. You really have to think about what you're doing.
Yeah, and don't try to be perfect, because I think, and I do the same thing. I think, well, if I can't do it all, if Sarah's telling me I need to do these 5 things and I can only do 2 of them, forget it. I'm not even going to do any of it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have that, all or nothing mentality. It can be, we're just going to work on progress. We're going to start with 1 or 2 things, and then you just kind of build over the years. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years. I didn't start out doing it all. It's like, don't compare, maybe where some of us are at on our journey to where you are. You just start with something, start with what you can do today, just kind of take it one day at a time, and don't focus on trying to be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to talk about nutrition because it's so important, not only for us, I mean for everybody, but specifically for us women in our 40s, our 50s, and beyond. Let's talk protein, fats, carbs, because the internet can be so incredibly unhinged. We're hearing so many different things. So, what is like the real priority of those things as it relates to, wanting energy and strength and having great body composition? How would you prioritize those things?
Yeah. So, first of all, we talked about this a little bit. Whole foods are going to be the most helpful for you in being anti inflammatory. If you're eating whole foods, and what I mean by whole foods are meats, meat, fish, beans, nuts, seeds, avocados, fruits, vegetables, olive oil, things like that. Anything that comes from the ground or has a mother. So if you grow it, if it has a mother, eggs, all those things are whole foods. And
Like a single ingredient food, correct?
yes, yeah. If shop the outside, the produce section, all of that in your store versus the packaged stuff. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever have that stuff, but if you're focusing mostly on whole foods, that's going to be a great start. It's going to be anti-inflammatory. It's going to help you get more fiber. You're going to be off to a great start. But like you said, there are proteins, fats, and carbs, and those are all super important for many processes of the body. So if we talk about protein, that is going to help you stay full so that you don't have so many cravings and you're not snacking in the pantry. It's going to help you to build muscle. Literally, protein helps build that muscle that you want. We can talk about muscle in a little bit. But protein, and I know everybody's hearing protein everywhere. This doesn't mean that you need to have only protein or be carnivore or, have this huge, disgusting plate of all chicken breast every meal. It doesn't have to be like that, but just enough, that it's going to help you with your blood sugar because it can help blunt the response that you get from eating the carbs. So you want to pair all of your meals with some protein. Ideally, 4 ounces of cooked meat or fish, a scoop of protein powder, or 2 eggs and 2 egg whites. Like you want to try to get 30 grams of protein at each meal. So,
What does 30 grams look like on a plate? Like, what is that?
yeah. So that would be like a chicken breast. That would be one chicken breast. That would be probably, it's a little more than a cup of cooked meat or fish. Or now remember, you get protein from other sources. So you're going to get a little bit of protein from those beans or your vegetables or, other things. But generally, the highest protein sources are going to be your eggs and your sausage or meat or fish or a clean protein powder would be, and that usually has about 20 grams. So you probably want to add a little bit more to that. But if you're eating those, most people, they're eating those things in their diet already. It's just a matter of having a little bit more than they, increasing that portion size and making sure, you're starting your day with a good amount of protein. Instead of, 2 eggs, it's just not going to be enough. That's going to be about 12 grams of protein. So you're going to want more than 2 eggs for breakfast. You're going to need to add something else to that. A lot of people will do like a protein smoothie or add some egg whites or some breakfast sausage or, whatever. But learning that is key. I mean, it's eye-opening for so many people when they start and with my clients, we do track our macros because I believe it's super important to, at least for a short time, understand this. It's eye-opening when you track it and you say, oh my gosh, I only had 75 grams of protein all day, and I really need to get over 100 or 120 or something like that. And so, but if you don't know, you can't change it. So that's why paying attention to this and monitoring it, if you don't want to track it, fine, just kind of pay attention, throughout the day that you're getting more at each meal, 3 to 4 meals with a good amount of protein. So that's protein. And then carbs, if we talk about carbs, they're not the enemy. Now, yes, we might become a little bit more insulin resistant as we age, but we still need carbs, especially if you're working out. You're going to want those carbs. They're going to give you energy. Carbs give you energy. So if you want to feel good, you need to eat enough in general. A lot of women are just not, they're just kind of eating like a couple eggs and toast for breakfast and then maybe a salad for lunch and then like a small piece of chicken and, some vegetables or whatever for dinner, maybe like a little snack. And they realize I was this way when I first started tracking how much I was eating. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm only eating like 1,000 calories. No wonder my body is stressed. But we need the carbs. They help with thyroid conversion. I have a lot of women who come to me actually with thyroid issues, hypothyroidism, underactive thyroid, trouble converting T3 to T4 because they've been low carb for so long. And so we need those carbs. Now, I'm not saying go out and eat donuts and croissants and, let's stick to those whole foods, sweet potatoes, rice, oatmeal, bananas, berries, avocado has a little bit, nuts have a little bit, beans, those types of things. And, any vegetables are going to have carbs. So we want to make sure that we're getting enough to fuel our workouts. They're going to also help us build muscle and really for our hormones. And same with fat. Fats are they help your brain. You need those healthy fats. You want them for hormone production as well. They're the building blocks of our hormones. So healthy fats would be like avocado or nuts, seeds, nut butters, olive oil, those fattier types of fish like salmon or ground beef or chicken thighs. Those things have a little bit more fat in them. So we want to make sure that we're getting these. And the best way to do that is to, have a balanced plate. Just make sure that you're having a protein and a fat and a carb, on your plate at every meal. And then and then that will help. So, but ultimately, if you want to lose weight, that's where the tracking really comes in, because you need to know for your own body how much food you need, how much protein you need. And I really put an emphasis on fiber too, because even though it's not a macronutrient, it's a micronutrient. And that's, something that a lot of people, I think the average American gets like, and don't quote me on this, it's something like 15 grams of fiber a day. And we really need 30 grams of fiber. Like, I recommend 30 minimum. It's going to help keep you full. It's going to help with your digestion. Actually, fiber binds to excess estrogen. So if you're estrogen dominant, which can happen, and it pushes it out of the body, which helps with breast cancer prevention or disease prevention in general. It can help with cholesterol. So we want to make sure that we're getting good fiber too. And that can come from chia seeds or avocado or raspberries. It doesn't have to be just like leafy greens. Everybody, for some reason, thinks fiber is like leafy greens, but cauliflower, even nuts have fiber. So we want to make sure we're getting fiber in our diet too.
Okay, good. I'm doing the checklist in my head, being like, okay, what have I had today? I'm like, okay. I'm like, gotta work on the fiber, gotta get some more in there.
Yep.
So take me through like a day of good eating. If somebody wants to like lean out, let's say, what does that look like? And how do we keep it under control as it relates to cortisol spiking, glucose spiking, with hormones? Because I found that I've had to actually change the timing of my eating as I've gotten
Mm-hmm.
into midlife to kind of control those spikes. So can you kind of take me through what that would look like? Let's say if somebody wanted to lose some weight, like, but having to keep all those things in check.
Yeah. So the thing with the timing, so what I found a lot of times in midlife with the cortisol and all of that, it really does help to eat before you're having caffeine. So if you're having coffee, even if you're just eating a little something before that, it is very helpful. I am not against fasting. I think it has a lot of benefits for us, not necessarily at this stage of life would I want somebody fasting, more than 12, 14 hours. Some of my clients will do like 16, but ideally, especially if you're having coffee, you are eating, hour and a half, within an hour and a half of getting up. It's something that has 30 grams or more of protein. It might be some egg whites with eggs and a smoothie, and a little bit of carbs. You could have berries or fruit in that smoothie. And then if you're going to go into a workout, after your workout or before your workout, we're going to make sure that we have some protein and carbs. Some people like to do just a little snack. What I do is I break up my breakfast. I kind of have like a little bit before my workout, and then after my workout, I'll have protein oats. So I put protein powder in oats with some berries. So I kind of do that before and after my workout to make sure we're getting, good protein there. And then lunch, I do eat a salad, but it is a big salad. Like, this has all the things on it. Anything from my refrigerator that I can put on there. It's always 4.5 ounces of cooked chicken or salmon or ground beef even. And then I throw artichokes and carrots and avocado and some olive oil for the dressing. I make a little dressing with balsamic vinegar, but I'm throwing, that's how I like to get a lot of my vegetables in, for the day. So I'll make a big salad and then sometimes a snack between lunch and dinner, depending on the timing. But then dinner will be, we're pretty simple at our house. It might be the kids want tacos, so I'm making ground beef and, all the things to go with it, maybe some cauliflower, some rice or sweet potatoes. And the kids will have it on, taco shells, and maybe I'll make it on a salad, or a lot of times I'll do like almond flour tacos. We keep it pretty simple. It'll be salmon with a veggie and rice. Typically, I always for dinner will cook a protein, a veggie, and a starchy carb like rice or potatoes. And then, yes, after the meals, if you can, walk around. It doesn't have to be a full outside walk, which that's great if you can actually do that and time it that way. But even just cleaning up the kitchen after dinner, so that you can blunt that blood sugar spike, because it's normal to have blood sugar spikes, totally normal. We just don't want them spiking too high, and we want to make sure that they come down to our normal level within a couple hours. And walking can do that. Actually, I read that just doing some calf raises actually helps with that too. So you can stand there and just go up on your tiptoes, do that like 20 times. And so what happens with glucose, with sugar, with carbs, is that also the more muscle that you have on your body, the more places it has to go. So building muscle helps with blood sugar regulation because it gives that glucose somewhere to go, so instead of storing as fat. So that's another bonus of having, muscle.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so it's better to have kind of 3 separate meals throughout the day, or like you're saying, you kind of broke up the breakfast. So is it
Yeah.
better to have those little meals scattered throughout the day, or is it, like, better to have those 3 square meals when we're in midlife?
Yeah, so I think we used to be taught that, like, oh, you need to eat like 6 times a day to rev that metabolism. When for us, I don't want to hold fast to like rules, but especially with that blood sugar, you want to give it enough time to come back down, so a couple hours at least. And if you're eating, enough protein, enough fiber, getting a good sized meal, you shouldn't be hungry for another 3 to 4 hours. So, unless you're working out or unless you're doing a lot of activity, you really should be able to go 3 to 4 hours before your next meal.
Okay, that's good to know. It's intermittent fasting is just, like, blown up, right? It's like I feel like all the internet is talking about is internet fasting, and, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I can see where it definitely could be helpful, but then I think there possibly might be drawbacks as well. So, from your perspective, what do you think about intermittent fasting for midlife women? Do you think that it's helpful, or do you think that it can mess with our hormones and, our different levels? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, how should we use intermittent fasting if we're going to use it?
Yeah, so I think it's a tool. And like any other tool that we have, it depends. You don't have to use it all the time. You could use it sometimes. Some people may use it, some others may not. So, for example, if you have hypothyroidism, you might not want to fast more than 12 hours because you already have that stressor on your thyroid. And it's another stressor, but exercise is a stressor. There's all kinds of different stressors that we put on our body that can be good. There's nothing wrong with stressors. They can do good things. But we have to be careful how many stressors we have on our body. So I always take this on an individual basis. I don't make a blanket statement for everybody because everybody's in a different place. If you're feeling amazing, your hormones are really, really balanced, you are sleeping really well, you feel good in your workouts, you have a lot of energy, you're not feeling stressed, you don't have a lot of stressors going on, then it might be okay for you to fast 12 to 16 hours, on a daily basis. And I love to see people fast at the end of the day more than at the beginning of the day. So have your dinner earlier. If you want to fast, because there are a lot of benefits, to fasting for our overall health. It helps our body clean out those old dead cells, and that's a good thing. Digestive rest is a great thing for our body so that it can do other things. It can do other processes, giving yourself that rest from eating instead of constantly eating. But I love to see people finish dinner by 5:30 or 6 And I know that's not the case, in all of our lives. So you might be at sports until whatever time, but it also helps you sleep better a lot of times if you aren't eating, right before bed. So, finishing dinner at 6 and then maybe you're having breakfast at 8. I mean, that's still 14 hours of fasting and you're still seeing the benefits. And that, there's been studies that have said even 12 hours of fasting it's still giving you, all of those great benefits that you want to see. So I don't think that we have to push it. I don't think we need to, stress ourselves to 16 all the time. But again, it's really individual and how is your body at this moment and how do you feel? Because yeah, I mean, a lot of us right now with our hormones up and down and, thyroid's suboptimal and stressors, it's just not another thing that we need to add. We'd be much better served to focus on the nutrition that I talked about and the workouts, and then, really regulating your nervous system and your cortisol.
Good point. Yeah, I've heard that you really shouldn't eat within 4 hours of going to bed just to give your body that time to digest. And then when you're sleeping, I've also read that, that's the time, obviously, our body is detoxing and removing all of the things out of our body that we don't want, the things that damage our cells and can lead to disease later on. So that is very important, absolutely.
Yeah. Sleep is huge. And unfortunately, in midlife, it becomes harder. There's not a woman out there that I've talked to that says they're sleeping amazing. It's harder to sleep. It's a lot of times the hormones, again, the nervous system. And I also just think we're living in this fast-paced world where we're not getting outside and we're not, we're seeing so much blue light. We're not seeing the sun as much, and that messes with your circadian rhythm. So sleep can really be an issue.
Yes, it's really important too when you wake to go outside, get some
Yeah.
sunlight for 10 minutes even, just to go out, get your sunlight because that actually doesn't it kind of levels the melatonin out and allows you
Yes.
to wake up, because we're inside so much, it's like your body almost needs that separation of, day and night in that way.
Yes. And if you can, and what I will do, if you have to drive to work, just open your window. If you're at home and I'm in Michigan, so it's freezing cold and the sun doesn't rise till 8 o'clock. I just open my slider door and stick my head out for 5 minutes, just getting that light on your eyeballs. This is another reason why they say, when it's safe to do so, not wearing sunglasses. We want to get those, even if it's cloudy, we want to get that light into our eyes because that helps to produce melatonin and it sets that circadian rhythm. Even if you can get out at sunset too, just to signal to your body that, that is nighttime. And then what I do also is kind of turn the lights down in the evening. I wear blue blocker glasses in the evening to try to really signal to your body that it's getting time for bed. And I sleep pretty well, and progesterone really helped me with that. I really wish I would have started that a lot earlier than I did. Why didn't anybody tell me that all I needed was some progesterone?
Right? Oh my gosh, I love that you're bringing that up because I recently started my own HRT journey because, my hormones were all over the place. And I will say, because of the misinformation that was out there, I really waited a long time to start it. But now that I've been on it, it's been about a couple of months now. My sleep has gotten so much better. The progesterone has helped so much with that. And then also the estrogen has really helped with clarity and energy and it's really starting to become a game changer for me. How about you? Have you gone through that whole path yourself?
Yep. So I'm still kind of on it. Same thing. So I started progesterone almost 2 years ago. I started with just a cream that you can get over the counter. that goes on your, arm or whatever. And then I changed to the micronized, the pill, not the birth control pill, the micronized progesterone, which is the bioidentical. And that was great for anxiety and, sleep. I also take Sleep Breakthrough is this little powder that I do before bed. It has some L-theanine in it and some other things, and I think that really helps too. And then I also just started the estrogen patch in October. So I'm still kind of getting the dosages right. And I feel like it does take some time. I think you have to be patient with it and do blood work, see where your estrogen is at, your progesterone, and also, of course, go by how you're feeling. When I first started it, I had some kind of weird symptoms. But now that I've been a few months on it, I do think that it is helping with that motivation, because that motivation tends to like go out the window.
Yes, it does.
And it does, yeah. And then like I had achy joints, which are
Yes.
feeling better, like itchy ears, which is really weird.
Oh,
I
you
don't
got
know.
the
That one
itchy
seems
ears? Because
better.
I've heard about
Yeah.
that. I've heard about the itchy. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's a thing.
Yeah. And there's so many things, and you don't realize that there is support. You really, I do think it helps if you can work with somebody who kind of knows what they're doing with this kind of stuff, and also be an advocate for yourself. So, there's even the doctors sometimes don't really understand HRT quite yet. So, I think you have to do your research and understand, and be an advocate, and just because a lot of times if you're not having hot flashes, which I never really had hot flashes, I would get warm. I definitely ran warm, like couldn't wear sweaters, got a little bit warm at night, never really had the hot flashes. But a lot of times if you don't have hot flashes, doctors will be like, well, you don't need it. But if you make a list of all the things that are going on with you, there's a chance that progesterone, estrogen, even testosterone may help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important to do the research. Like, you really have to figure out, talk to doctors who are knowledgeable about, HRTs and who are menopause certified, essentially, which I know that in med school, they don't really teach, a lot about menopause and perimenopause, especially. So it is important to find practitioners that know their way around that, and that aren't afraid to talk about it, and I think, you just have to do your research on that and figure out if
Yeah.
it's right for you.
And unfortunately, a lot of the doctors just want to give the pill, the birth control pill, and that's like all they know. That's all they know to do. They're like, "Oh, you're having irregular periods. This is normal in perimenopause. I had super heavy periods. I couldn't leave the house some days." Like, the birth control pill is not the answer. So,
Right.
but that's all they know because that's what they've done their whole career, So,
Right, and the pill is a synthetic hormone. Those are synthetic hormones,
yeah,
They're not bioidentical. Like HRTs nowadays, are usually bioidentical. I mean, obviously do your research
right.
and make sure, but, I think that, it really, because there's been so much misinformation and people not knowing what they're really, putting in their bodies. I mean, I took the birth control pill for like 15 years when I was young,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. We didn't think anything of it. We didn't know any better. I mean, that's just what they told you to do. So,
Right, then you did it. You're like, "Okay, I don't wanna get pregnant early," like, and I wanna have regular periods. I mean, those are 2 of the big things, especially when you're young like that.
I think it's a good thing though that there is a lot more information coming out on it. They took that black box warning off of the estrogen, just starting to have the conversation again. Whereas for so long, it was like nobody was talking about it because, that's the Women's Health Initiative study that they're now kind of rolling back saying that, They didn't even use bioidentical anyway. So this is a different, a totally different conversation. Yeah.
Yes, a very faulty study, which is unfortunate because I think about the generation before us, like our moms, and aunts and things like that who suffered in silence because they did not have the information, the correct information,
Yeah.
which is a shame, which is a shame. Um, Switching gears just a little bit, because I definitely want us to talk about this, is strength training, which is kind of the other flip side of the nutrition, right? Because in midlife, I mean, we really have to be cognizant of both of those things. So, with strength training, because we hear it all the time. It's like lift heavy weights, got to be in the gym, got to be working out, doing all the things. And I know we definitely do. But so many of us, like we were saying at the top of the episode, are so busy. We're taking care of kids or taking care of aging parents, working, just we have so many responsibilities on our shoulders. So, for strength training, I really want to break it down for our audience because we are so busy, what is kind of the minimum of what women in midlife should be doing without becoming overwhelmed and like feel like they don't have time to do these things because that's half the battle anyway. You feel like you don't have time, so I'm just not going to do it. So what
Yeah.
is like the kind of minimum that we should be doing?
Yeah. So again, it's that whole let's work smarter rather than harder. We don't have to go to, hour long classes. We don't have to spend 2 hours at the gym. You can do a really great workout in less than 30 minutes at your own home. And that would include a warm up and a cool down. It can be 25 minutes, 20 minutes of strength training 2 to 3 times a week, and you're going to build muscle. Of course, you can do more than that. At this age, I don't see too many people who want or can do more than 5 times a week. I always recommend at least 2 days of rest because for injury prevention, we really need that mobility work and the stretching and just resting our muscles. So I'd say anywhere from when it comes to strength training, 2 to 3, maybe 4 strength training sessions a week. And then if you are feeling good and you're not too stressed or you have the time, doing 1 to 2 short HIIT sessions or sprint interval training sessions in the week that are just like 10 minutes can be really beneficial for many things, for blood sugar, for belly fat, for visceral fat. But again, everybody's going to be individual as to how much time you have, how your body recovers, how much, that depends on how much sleep you're getting or how much stress you're under. But at a minimum, 3 days of strength training is really going to be great, especially if you're a beginner. You're going to see great progress with just that.
Okay, how heavy should we be lifting? Because that's another thing, it's like lift heavy weights. Okay, what does that look like? How heavy should we be lifting and how many repetitions, like really break that down too because I feel like there's so much confusion out there with that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, if you're like on Instagram, you're seeing these women who are in the gym and they've got this big barbell that they're like deadlifting, and that's what you think of when you think of lifting heavy. And that doesn't appeal to a lot of people. So, if you're just starting out, you could probably get 2 sets of dumbbells. It could be maybe 10s and 15s pounds, 10 pounds and 15-pound weights. And you could start there and you can do 3 sets of 10 of 4 moves a day. And, you may want to work your legs one day, or if you like a full body workout, you do 2 arm moves and 2 leg moves, do 3 sets of 10, and do that, 3 times a week. And that's going to be great. But what I consider heavy lifting is you feel challenged. Number one, we don't want to go to these classes where you're lifting 5 pounds and you're just going through the motions and you're going as fast as you can. And, it's like, oh, I'm lifting weights. Okay, well, let's get smarter and more intentional and really have that mind to muscle connection where we're thinking about, okay, am I challenging this muscle? So your last couple reps should feel hard. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be like, oh, I could do this for another 10 reps. You want to think, okay, I could probably only do maybe like 3 more reps. So, that means I'm lifting heavy. So really focus on those last couple reps. If you feel like you could keep going for 5, 6, 7 more reps, you probably need to up your weight. So don't be afraid to challenge yourself. That's how the muscle grows. But that doesn't mean that you're going to start out lifting 40-pound dumbbells. Like, please don't do that because you're going to injure yourself.
Yeah, totally. So is it more important to have the size of the weight, like the heaviness of the weight, or the repetition number?
Okay, so both. Really, it depends. It could be either. You want to just tire out that muscle. So you want, and if that's by doing more reps with a lighter weight, say you don't have heavier weights at home, then, if you only have 10 pounds is your max, or let's say you have 15 pounds is your max, and you're doing like a leg, deadlift or a bicep curl, and you're feeling like I could do 5 more. Okay, well, then instead of 10, maybe you're doing 15 if you don't have a weight where you could increase. But if you do have a weight where you could increase, then you might start out even just doing like 8 reps while you're working with that new heavier weight, and then increase as it starts to get easier.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. I know for me personally, I love strength training, and I know we talk a lot about strength training in midlife, and it is so, so, so very important. But for me, I also need the cardio aspect as well in order for my body to lean out. I notice because I tend to carry weight more in my middle, even before, midlife and perimenopause. Like that was always my kind of like problematic quote unquote area. So I know for me, like cardio is really important as well. So what would you say about that? Like how much cardio should we be getting? Like what should we be doing for cardio? I mean, I know for me, typically I walk an incline on the treadmill with a weighted vest to kind of try to hit all those areas because oh my god, the weighted vest has taken a
I
life of
know.
its own in midlife, right? The
I
weighted vest
know.
should have like its own like Instagram.
Yes, yeah, and it's crazy because it's only
Yeah.
like $30 or something.
Yeah.
It's like one of the cheaper. It's like everybody can get one. So 2 things for that belly fat, for losing weight. First of all, when you put on muscle, that's going to help you to burn more calories at rest. So you want muscle on your body. It's going to help your metabolism. It's going to help you also to burn fat. But and as far as cardio goes, walking, number 1, walking is amazing. Get more steps, add 2,000 steps to whatever you're doing right now, and that's going to help you tremendously. Doesn't have to be any specific like zone or of heart rate. Just enjoy it.
Yes.
Just enjoy it. Like we don't have to measure every single thing in our life. Go outside and enjoy a beautiful walk outside. Um, okay, so walking, number 1, and then short hit. So short, meaning we're not going to an Orange Theory class that's 45 minutes of cardio, hard running, sprinting, that kind of thing. The thing that works best is either sprint interval training or hit, which hit would be like you could be doing jump squats or box jumps or burpees or, anything that's like getting your heart rate up to that, 80% of max, but for a short time. So you're going to do it. Let's just talk about how you would do this if you were sprinting, if you're able to sprint. You maybe a treadmill or outside. First of all, warm up. And then you're going to run as fast as you can for 20 seconds. So it's not very long. It's just 20 seconds. And then you're going to recover for a minute or 2 and, walking or whatever. And then you're going to run as fast as you can again for 20, 25 seconds. Then you're going to recover. And you'll do that maybe 6 to 8 times. It doesn't have to take a long time. It can be very short. So you want to get that, you've got to get to that point where you're really pushing yourself hard, but only for a short time. So it's kind of like, there's a diminishing rate of returns when you're doing this kind of stuff. You want to do a little bit of it, but not too much that you're really stressing your body or causing any issues. But this can really help with, it helps with blood sugar, it really helps with that belly fat, but only maybe 2 times a week. You don't need to do it daily or anything like that. So you could add it to another workout day. It could be one of your workout days, where you're just on the treadmill, you're getting your steps, you add in a few sprints, but they're super helpful. Or a hit workout. Some people like to do a Peloton or a on the floor hit, like I was talking about before, that type of workout. But again, in those, it's harder to get your heart rate up. So you might go like 40 seconds on those to really get your heart rate up, but then you're resting for a good, 30, 40 seconds after that.
And that rest is important in between the
Yes.
intervals, correct? Because it lowers
Yes.
your heart rate again and then
Yep.
allows you to raise it quickly again. Is that like kind of
It allows you to go hard again. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's hard to do that, go all out if you haven't recovered and let your heart rate come down. So, and it doesn't have to be, if you're sprinting, you could rest 40 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, just see how breathless you are. And if you need, it doesn't really matter how long you rest. A minute, 2 minutes, whatever kind of feels like you're ready to go hard again.
And what about time of day? Does time of day matter when we're in midlife when it comes to working out? Because I find for me, I like to work out early in the morning and just like not only just get it over with, but like, I feel like that's like when my energy is maybe higher too. Like I feel like it's a better pace and I feel like it kind of sets me for the day. But is there a better time to work out or does it really matter? As it relates to like, our cortisol, our hormones, all that kind of thing.
So the best time to work out is when you can do it consistently, number one. So pick a time. What can you commit to most days of the week, or 3 to 4 times, 5 times a week? Pick a time that, is it right after work? Is it before work? Is it, lunchtime? What is where you can be most consistent? And then I always suggest, like, don't work out too late. It's going to be hard to sleep if you're working out at 8 o'clock at night. You're really getting your adrenaline going. And then early morning workouts, like if you're sacrificing sleep to get up at 4:30 in the morning to work out, really think about that. Maybe you can do your workouts on the weekend, so that you don't have to do that quite as much during the week, because we really don't want to sacrifice our sleep. And if you are, let's say you're just going to work out at like 5:36, the thing about that for me is I want to see you eating around your workout. So whether it's before or right after, you need to be getting some protein and carbs. And I know a lot of people who wake up and work out at 5 a.m., they're like, I do not feel like working out. So essential amino acids are really good to put in your water. They have the essential amino acids to help you build muscle. So if you are working out fasted, those are good to put in your water. But really optimally, we're trying to eat something, within either before or maybe within an hour of finishing.
And it should be like a protein based, right? Something that'll kind of, help the not spike the glucose and kind of keep the cortisol at bay a bit, right?
Yes, protein. For sure, protein is going to help you build muscle. It's going to, again, especially if you're doing those HIIT workouts, you want to bring that cortisol back down right afterwards, and food can help you do that.
I think too, we feel so much pressure to kind of do more, 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 like more workouts, more better, having a better diet, like just all these things. So when you're coaching your clients, when do you tell them that like less is more? It's not just hitting the
Yeah.
wall hard every single minute of every day.
Yeah, I talk about this all the time because, again, if you are too stressed in your life, you're not going to see results. Your body is going to hold on to all of that fat for survival. If you are under eating too much, if you're working out too hard, if you're, on the go, you're never setting boundaries, you're never saying no to anything, you don't take a few minutes every day to just like slow down and do some deep breathing, it's gonna backfire on you. It might feel good when you have that adrenaline at first, but your body's gonna have a really hard time releasing fat if your cortisol is always up and you're always just on the go, you never slow down, you're trying to do it all. And that doesn't mean that we can't do workouts. I mean, I don't want to also take the other extreme that, like, we're in midlife, we have to be like fragile and just can't, we can't do anything, because we still need to be moving and strength training and those things. But again, it just is working smarter rather than trying to push and work harder, because a lot of times that's what gets you in this position in the first place, is you're not nourishing your body, you're not taking care of your body. And it shows, because then you see the weight gain. So I know it's hard to believe, but when you eat enough and you fuel your body and you do replace maybe some of those crazy cardio hit classes with some slower strength training and build some muscle, and then of course taking the time for either if you meditate or do some deep breathing or just a bedtime routine, something to really calm your body, you're going to see better results.
For those of us that might be under eating or over exercising, and not controlling the cortisol properly, what are the signs that somebody like should be looking for to see those things so that they can change them, you know?
Yes. So one real big sign a lot of people have is you are tired, but you are wired at night. So you're tired, but you can't fall asleep. Or you have that monkey brain where your mind is going a mile a minute at night. Or you're waking up at 3 a.m. and can't get back
Ugh,
to sleep.
it's 3 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be different things. That can be hormones, that can be blood sugar, but a lot of times it's cortisol. You have a puffier face, like you'll notice a lot of people have kind of that round moon face type thing. You wake up after a good night's sleep and you're still tired. You have trouble getting through your workouts. You can feel when your body just doesn't feel at ease. It just feels overwhelmed. You're constantly on edge. Little things bother you, like little things that your husband says or your kids do, or things set you off just really easily. You're in that, what we call fight or flight. So you're always just like trying to put out different fires. And it's that hustle culture too, where you're just constantly hustling, trying to do, you're always the one signing up for 10 different volunteer things, or you always say yes. I think that that's kind of the stage that we're in, and we just have to recognize it and be okay with dialing back a little bit on some things.
You know what I've really noticed too, especially in midlife, which I think didn't affect me as much before, is whatever I've eaten the night before for dinner will affect me the next morning. For example,
Oh yeah.
2 nights ago, I decided to have a huge bowl of pasta because you know what? I wanted a big bowl of pasta. So I had that bowl of pasta. You know what? I woke up yesterday morning with so much more brain fog and just like sluggish and just and I didn't have no alcohol at all, no wine. It was literally the food that I had eaten, and I
Yeah.
find myself so much more susceptible to what I put food-wise in my body now. It will show up like the next day and I will feel
Oh
it,
my gosh.
right?
Yeah, sugar. A lot of times people can't sleep because of like sugar. Like they had some ice cream after dinner and then all of a sudden their sleep is terrible. We know alcohol is like, you mentioned alcohol, it's like it is so much harder on us in our 40s and 50s. It's like, I know so many women who can't even handle one glass of wine. It's like they are, it's like, why? It's not fair. But, but, it disturbs your sleep and then you still feel kind of like low energy the next day. Liver, our liver is processing a lot of hormones too at this age. So it's a lot of times a little more sluggish with detoxing things. So yeah, a lot of just so many things affect us these days. It's not fair, but the good news is that we can figure out what those are and we can, we do have a little bit of control over some of it. So
Oh, the alcohol of it all. I mean, remember how nice it used to be in my 20s and 30s? Like, my husband and I, we would cook dinner or order in or whatever and open a bottle of wine and like have a couple glasses each. And it was just so nice. I could wake up the next day, feel fine.
feel fine.
The
Yeah.
second I crossed over into my 40s, it like that all changed. It's like I
Oh,
can literally have a glass of wine and feel like shit the next day.
yeah. And you just don't sleep, like, or you wake up and you've got like this night sweats or whatever. And I know it's crazy.
It's the
Yeah.
3 AM wake up call after a glass of
Oh,
wine, and I'm like, "What is
the
even
worst.
happening?" Right? I understand, I think I was looking at your social media. Is it true that you're kind of on a, like, sober journey right now? You're not drinking?
Yeah, I was a nightly wine drinker, so nightly, like every night, and same thing, I was fine. So I had really no reason to cut back because I could have, let's be honest, it was 2 glasses pretty much every night, and I could, wake up feeling fine the next day. But then in my early 40s, it really hit me, like, it started hitting me so hard that and I love my sleep. Like, I love my sleep. So I try to protect that as much as I possibly can. And I went through so many, like, okay, well, I'm not going to drink after 6 p.m. I'm not going to like have more than one. Okay, more than two, like trying to set all these rules around it. And none of it seemed to help. Yeah. So
So you kinda just did you taper off of it, or was it just, like, one day you were like, "That's it?"
no, it wasn't one day. It was years of, taking breaks and like, okay, I'm going to do like this challenge and then that challenge. And, I go 3 months and then have, so it was years of really just trying and I don't even want to say failing, just like going back and forth, like, oh, I cannot do this anymore. It drives me, you know, crazy how bad I feel. So no, it wasn't like just one day, but I definitely did a lot of 21-day reset things and dry Januaries um and then I realized how good I felt, like when I would do those, I'm like, oh my gosh, the brain fog kind of goes away. And I always say, and this is the same with food, with getting on a healthy journey too, that you don't realize how good you can feel until you start feeling good. I have a lot of, people that will tell me, oh my gosh, so this is what it's like to wake up with energy and to be in a good mood. And, like you don't realize how bad you had it until you start having it really good.
Yes. Well, and I think it's like there's so many parts to the puzzle too in midlife. It's like it's not just nutrition, it's not just strength training, it's not just sleep, but it is like all of those things. It's also like controlling your stress and like learning to take
Yeah.
time for yourself and not feel guilty about it. Like take time away from your family, from your friends, and just have time for yourself. It's like there's so many parts. It's so intricate, like all these things that we need to do now to stay
Yeah.
healthy and to stay feeling good.
Yeah. And, sometimes people will get overwhelmed with that. Like, oh my gosh, there's just so much. I don't know where to start, or I don't know what I should prioritize. And I always like to habit stack things. So you don't have to do it all, but pick one or two things right now that you want to work on and add it to something that you're already doing. So if you are, already brushing your teeth, maybe right after you brush your teeth, you stand in front of the mirror and you do, some deep breathing, or, that's just an example, whatever. Maybe when, maybe you always take a walk, and so you do some meditation while you're walking. Just like add it to something that you're already doing, so that it doesn't feel like, oh, I gotta do this like one more thing. But also, when you're doing it for feeling good rather than thinking this is something I should be doing, like you're feeling like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. Instead, think of it as, these things make me feel good. I don't work out because I feel like I have to. I do it because I know it makes me feel good and I want that feeling. So think about the things that are going to make you feel good.
Yeah, when you feel good, that is addictive. You
Yeah.
want that, you want that in your life, and it really is so important, and like you're saying, you can find it in all different ways, like, for me, for example, I downloaded the Calm app, and I love it because at
Yeah.
night, if I wanna just do, like, a short even meditation, like, that's even a time when you can do meditation is when you're trying to, like, fall asleep, because 'cause you're already trying to fall asleep, so why not do a little meditation with that? It doesn't have to be difficult, it can just be like you're saying, doing something where you're already doing an activity where they can kind of dovetail together.
Yes, exactly. And you can build from there. You can build, your habits. So it's important to get habits in place so that you can be consistent, and then you can build from there. Maybe for example, like I have a sauna that I love. I love getting in my sauna. Have I always had a sauna? No. But that after years of being healthy and of hearing of the benefits of sauna, I got a sauna, and now I add it on to my workout. So I work out and then I get in the sauna. Like it's just, you can build on to those habits that you already have as you go along. Don't feel like you have to start out doing it all, doing all the things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so here we are talking about habits, right? So for the women listening, in the next 30 days, what are like 3 of the most effective things that we can be doing in midlife to really feel better, to see results, because we do wanna see results too, and just, put us in a good headspace for going forward?
Yeah, the three things I would look at are, number one, with nutrition, I would start with whole foods and protein forward. If you're getting those whole foods and you're making sure there's protein included in that, you're going to feel really good. Strength training, so important, even if it's just a couple days a week. Um, I would say walking is also very important, but we'll go with strength training. And then just making sure that you are caring for your nervous system. So we want our bodies to feel safe. We don't want to be in this fight or flight. We don't want to be chasing, all these things. We want to feel calm. And I know it's not easy. It's definitely something that I've been working on myself. Then there's many different ways that you can do that. Like you said, you have the Calm app, or maybe it's just getting that morning sunlight, or maybe it's doing some meditation or deep breathing, or maybe just a walk outside in nature with no podcasts on, just like just maybe doing one thing for your nervous system. Or maybe it's just saying no to more activities and more scheduling and all of that.
I
So,
don't know about you, but I get so excited when plans cancel. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
"Yes."
Yeah.
Right?
There was a meme I think I saw that was like, don't be sad about canceling plans with me because I'll be back in my pajamas within 5
Yes.
minutes of your text.
Totally. Totally. I know. There is something. Why do I know all of a sudden in midlife? I mean, that's like the thing. I'm like, oh, yes, plans
Yeah.
canceled. Yes.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
know.
So
I know.
true. Oh, and
Yeah.
so those are the kind of the top 3 things you would do. I think our nervous system, like you're saying, like, we have to pay attention to that, especially now, because our nervous systems are fried in midlife, you know?
Yeah. Fried. And that's something that people don't always pay attention to. So I think it's worth drawing a little attention to it. It's going to help your sleep. It's going to help your mood. It's actually going to help your fat loss. It's going to help, all of these things that we've talked about today. If you can feel more calm, safe in your body, not pressure, you don't feel pressure, or, your body's going to relax and it's going to do what it's really designed to do.
Yeah, we must reset our nervous systems. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
imperative, you know? It's just as important, I think, as like sleep and recovery, you know? I mean, we've got to,
Yes.
right? If we want all these things to kind of work together and really be effective, I mean, you have to kind of do a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not something that I used to think about, but especially in midlife, I think just with all the stressors and the lives that we lead now that are just so overscheduled and busy, um and the hormones that are going crazy, we have to nourish our nervous system too. Just taking that time. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It's just a little bit of a focus on that.
Just prioritizing yourself for a minute. Like that's
Yeah.
huge. That's huge. Um, okay, so what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
I would say not to get caught up in skinny culture, because skinny culture is just, it's not healthy. It's not going to it's not going to do anything for you. Now, I know we all want to lose weight and there's nothing wrong with losing weight. There's nothing wrong with wanting to fit into your clothes, but I think we've kind of gone a little bit too far with that sometimes. I would focus on getting strong and nourishing your body, because those two things are they're really what are going to serve you long term, and you can look good while you're doing that too. So,
Fantastic. Yes. What is the biggest lesson that you have learned in midlife?
oh, I'm learning new lessons every single day. I feel like,
Right?
yeah. Well, I think just like personally that it is okay to slow down. You don't have to be hustling all the time, and you can still lead a really great life. You can still, being present, especially in this world of social media and all the distractions, just like slowing down and being present with my family, because these days are going so fast. Like, I have kids in college, kids in high school, and the days are flying by, and you never regret slowing down and being present with the people who are right in front of you.
That's true. Mortality kind of comes into play with that because you think in the future maybe
Yeah.
sometimes and say when you look back, you're not going to regret spending more time with the people that you love, and quality time. That's like probably one of
Yeah.
the biggest regrets when you get that far anyway.
And the quality time, like you said, like not time, and I'll catch myself. My kids will say my name 3 times while I'm looking down at my phone. And, and then I'm like, oh, sorry, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So really, really, that quality, over quantity even.
How are you living iconically right now?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Well, how do you just define iconic?
For me personally, I feel like it's living as authentically you as possible, like to your true, like being purpose, who you are,
Yeah,
and not denying it. I think that that's pretty fucking iconic,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I'm trying just to, same thing. I'm a pretty authentic person as it is, but I'm trying to just lean into like not worrying about what other people think so much and living, what I feel comfortable with, what makes me feel comfortable in everything that I do. So, I know that I don't have to answer to anybody else, that I'm ultimately responsible for me. And so, I'm trying to live a somewhat natural lifestyle. I'm very non-toxic at my house, and I still color my hair. Yes, I know that's toxic, but I can't give up the dye on the hair yet. But I'm trying to live, as naturally as possible, but without extremes. And that just feels really good to me and just really balanced. So I guess I'm trying to be, you know, natural in one sense without going too crazy.
Well, I like that too because I do think it's a scale. It's not like all or nothing. Like in other words,
Yeah.
you can eat organic but still get, your hair highlighted and like you can work out but still maybe enjoy a glass of wine. Like I think that it's whatever's right for you.
Yeah, and we're not, I don't want to feel bad about any of it. I just want to, I want to do what feels good to me, and I can justify to myself not what I see on Instagram, not what, I think I should be doing, but really what and I feel like we all should be doing. I think in your 40s, like you start to give a lot fewer craps about anything.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes, exactly.
and not that you don't care, but just I think it's a really just a I'm almost 49, so I'm almost through my 40s, and that's been what I have really grown the most in my 40s toward is not caring, what other people think really.
Your
Yeah.
bandwidth gets so much shorter for that kind of BS, it's like you just don't have the energy, the time, like the care to like be, as conscious of that stuff as you did when you were younger, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. We should all be I think we need more authenticity too. I think we just we're just everybody's tired of seeing like the perfect this and that and not feeling like you can measure up. So, um I think and we need to give ourselves grace, which is why, I don't look to be perfect either because we need a lot of grace this time of our life.
We all have
Yeah.
good days and shitty days and ups and downs, so we gotta normalize that, no nothing is perfect, nobody's perfect, and you do the best you can.
And we're in this together too. Like we got to stick together. You have a great community here. Like
Thank you.
it's important that we all have each other to kind of laugh about the things that we're going through, and also, support each other.
100%, 100%. And I'm just so thrilled that you joined us here today on the Iconic Midlife. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been so eye-opening and I love all your tips and I always, like I just love hearing from people like you who are passionate about what you do. So, thank you
Well, thank you.
so much. And can you tell
Well,
everybody
thank
where
you.
they can find you?
Yes, well, thank you. I'm so honored to be on. I really appreciate you asking me. Sara Preston Healthy Living on Instagram. So Sara Preston Healthy Living on Instagram. So I'd love to chat with people and really create a community of, people who I can chat with about all the fun midlife stuff.
That's so exciting. And do you have anything coming up that everybody should know about?
So every month I run a fitness and nutrition group. So you can find, information about that. I also have a website, Sara Preston Healthy Living, if you want to check it out for like recipes and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I run a group for learning all about these things that I talked about today, whether it's macros or strength training with HIIT that you can do at home, or some of the cortisol stuff too. So.
Very, very helpful. And definitely go follow her because she's so knowledgeable in what she talks about. And you will love all the things. And they're very easy to kind of incorporate into your life, which I think is so important when it comes to these kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you to the audience for listening and watching. I so appreciate you. And if this episode or the show resonates, please don't forget to follow or subscribe on any podcast app or on YouTube, and rate and comment, because it truly helps other women find this community. And it's so important that we stick together, like you were saying, Sarah, and just really band
Yes,
together and share all of our knowledge and just create the most badass midlife community possible, because we can do it.
that's right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is one of those conversations I wish every woman heard before she blamed herself. If this episode gave you clarity or made you feel seen, do me a quick favor. Follow the show, rate it, and leave a comment or review on your favorite podcast app. Those few seconds genuinely help the show reach more women who need these conversations. And if you want to see this conversation, because there are so many moments worth watching, head over to YouTube and subscribe to the Iconic Midlife for full episodes and bonus clips. Share this episode with a friend who's doing everything right and still wondering what's going on with her body. Because you're not broken, you're not failing, you're evolving. And that's iconic.